Did you know that Andorra is in fact the world's only semi-elective diarchy? Well, if you didn't, I'll explain that in a bit. Well, hello everybody and welcome to today's video here on politics. Now, this is going to be about Andorra. As I told you before, Andorra is the world's only semi-elective diarchy. What that means, in contrast to a monarchy, where a monarchy has one ruler, in a diarchy we have two rulers. And the parliamentary bit which I forgot to tell you about, this is a parliamentary diarchy, is the fact that it is Parliament which controls the business of the land. First off, I'd like to tell you who, of course, these two co-princes are, and then we'll tell you afterwards why it is as it is. The first co-prince, or the ecclesiastical co-prince, is Joan Enrique Vives Cecilia. He is the Archbishop of Urgell. As a bishop, he is, of course, appointed to his post by the Pope, and the other co-prince, the French co-prince, is President Emmanuel Macron of France. Being the President of France, he is elected directly by the French people. You may understandably be confused for the reason for this mess, but now I'm going to explain that to you guys. In 988, the Count of Urgell gave the land to the Bishop of Urgell, and to defend it, the bishop signed a co-rulership agreement with the Lord of Cabouet. Through a bunch of confusing European medieval succession, the title of co-ruler Andorra ended up with the title of King of Navarre, who himself became King of France with even more complicated succession crisis. As the King of France is no longer a title that exists, the President of France now holds the title. And as you can imagine, Emmanuel Macron is busy running his own country and saving the European Union, and the bishop is too busy praying and tending to his bishopric and doing other ecclesiastical duties. Therefore, each of the co-rulers appoints what is known as a representative. The ecclesiastical representative is Joseph Maria Mari, who is a Spanish priest, and the French representative is Patrick Stroster, who is a decorated French civil servant and Emmanuel Macron's current chief of staff. Despite being diarchs, the powers of the two co-princes are very ceremonial and limited. The main powers that they have are that they must sign all international treaties. However, this is generally just a formality. Where they can really push their weight around is that they can, at own will, send all laws, which are consideration or passed by Parliament, or which are, all laws and bills, they can send them to constitutional review. And as you might imagine, most powers, or all of the powers that the co-princes have, can also be exercised by their respective representatives. Now, let's go on to see who actually leads the country. The current Prime Minister of Andorra, or as the official title is, the Head of Government of the Principality of Andorra, or as it's known in Andorran, Cap de Govern del Principat d'Andorra, is Antoni Martí. He's been in office since 2011, except for a few months in 2015 where he ceremoniously resigned to run for re-election. He is currently the leader, founder of the Democrats for Andorra Party. I'll get to them a bit later in the episode. And the Prime Minister is appointed by the General Council. The General Council is the legislative branch of Andorra, also known as Parliament. General Council is the official name. They have 28 members who sit for 4-year terms. They use in Andorra what is known as a parallel voting system, is where you have two systems of electing members to one body, where the two different election results don't have any influence on each other. The first half, the first 14, is elected through one national constituency by proportional representation, so half the votes with half of the seats. The second half, the second 14, are elected from the 7 parishes of Andorra, which you could say is the equivalent of, say, the counties of Andorra. Each parish elects 2 members of Parliament, and here they use a quite interesting method of election. They use first past the post party vote. So the party who gets most votes in the parish, even if it's less than half, gets both of the seats. Of course, the legislature does what any other legislator does, and it's also involved in the appointment of judicial nominees. In addition, it also appoints the Prime Minister. All laws and budgets and stuff go through here. If this would be of interest to anybody, the Gallagher Index of the General Council in the last election was 15.2, so quite high. The first party, which is the current governing party and party of the Prime Minister, is the Democrats for Andorra party. They received 37% of the vote, giving them 15 seats in the last election. Their current leader is Prime Minister Antoni Martin. I said earlier, he is also the founder of the party. Ideologically speaking, they are economically liberal and socially conservative. And on the website it says that the Democrats for Andorra is a political party committed to freedom, equal opportunities and social cohesion. With the freedom and equal opportunities being a more liberal part and the social cohesion being a more socially conservative part. They were founded in 2011 and have been in government every year since then. So that is pretty impressive for a quite new party. The current main opposition party is the Liberal Party. They got 28% of the votes in the last election, giving them 8 seats in the General Council. Their leader is Marc Forney Molyneux, who was Prime Minister of Andorra from 1995 to 2005. They were last in government from 1994 to 2009. They are a soft, pro-EU party. They are, of course, economically and, well, I could gather, socially liberal. And they're a member, on the European scale, they're a member of the European Liberal Democrats of Europe party, which kind of shows you where they sit ideologically. You know, free trade, more European Union cooperation, and greener energy. All that good liberal stuff. The third largest party is the Social Democratic Party of Andorra. They got 24% of the vote in the last election, giving them only 3 seats. Their leader is Vicente Aleix Ferrer or Pere Lopez. It depends on where you look. I mean, Wikipedia says one thing and the party website says another, so have at them. They're both party leaders, I guess. They are, of course, as the name suggests, a social democratic party and also a member of the Socialist International on the international stage, which is like the along with the Progressive Alliance, the largest coalition for social democratic parties worldwide. The fourth largest party and the smallest in Parliament as of now, also General Council, is the Social Democracy and Progress Party. In the last election, they received 12% of the votes, giving them 2 seats. They are currently led by Victor Naudi Zamora. By the looks of the things, both from Wikipedia and on their website, they just look like some more social democrats. I couldn't really find out where they came from, but it looks like they're a breakaway from the other Social Democratic Party, or they're just some disgruntled socialists who didn't think the Social Democratic Party were being social democratic enough. And together these two parties, if they had run on a joint list, they would have got 9 seats in Parliament and would have, been able to throw a lot more weight around in Andorran politics. Currently, these two parties, the SDP and the other SDP, they form together the Third Way bloc in Parliament, where the Liberals are the official and main opposition. The Social Democratic parties together form a Third Way, or an alternative opposition to the Democrats for Andorra party. Now, let's talk about the people who's supposed to oversee, what am I doing with these hands, oversee the politicians, the judiciary. The judiciary of Andorra is organised by the Superior Council of Justice for Andorra. What a name! They are in charge of organising and appointing judges to lower courts in Andorra. And this council is composed of 5 members who are all appointed by various people of importance in Andorran politics. There is 1 council member per co-prince, 1 from the ecclesiastical, that's a difficult word, and 1 from the French co-prince. 1 is appointed by the Prime Minister, 1 is appointed by the Speaker of the House, and there's 1 who is elected by the members of the lower court. On the international scale, Andorra is best friends with Spain and France, as they depend on these 2 nations exclusively for their national defence, as Andorra has no army of their own. They are not a member of the European Union, however they do have close ties with them, they use the euro, and they have a customs agreement for goods. Not services, they're not in the Schengen, they don't have free movement of people either, but they like most of their trade goes through the European Union. On the import side of trade, they import $1.35 billion of goods every year. Of course, Andorra is a small country, so as we can see, when it comes to exports, they import a lot more stuff than they export. The largest imports are foodstuffs, chemical products, and machinery, and 70% of their imports come from Spain. And finally, let's talk about the exports of Andorra. Andorra export only about $100 million of goods every year compared to the over $1 billion that it imports. Because it's a small country, of course, it has quite a large trade deficit with the surrounding world. And the largest exports are integrated circuits and surprisingly also gold, whether that's actual gold mining or if it's gold purification and other products made from gold, I couldn't find out, but gold is Andorra's second largest export. Of the export partners that it has, of course, the major ones are the European Union in general, with 2/3 of all trade going to Europe, with Spain and Switzerland being the major importers of Andorran goods, and surprisingly 12% of Andorran exports go to Mauritania. Hadn't seen that one coming, had you? And finally, today's fun fact. Today's fun fact is that in Andorra, all males between 21 and 60 are required to have at least one gun in the household. This is so that in the event of an invasion, because Andorra does not have any army, the men of the nation can rise up and take up arms against those dastardly invaders. Now, this is not much of an issue anymore now, with France and Spain being allies for defence purposes. You could have seen it being a bit more relevant back in the Middle Ages and also before 1970 when Franco was in Spain, but they've kept the law around as to have not total reliance on Spain and France. So ladies and gentlemen, that was today's episode of Politics Now. I will see you next time in the hopefully not so distant future when we discuss Angola.